CBS Sports HQ on this Wednesday. I'm Chris Hassel. Glad to have you with us. It's been 100 days since the Super Bowl. 100 days since the Eagles won the Super Bowl. And today, the Super Bowl champion Eagles with another major victory, this time in a vote from NFL owners. A pretty big surprise. The tush push has not been banned. That Packers proposal that needed a 75% vote total from NFL owners does not get through, comes up a few votes short. That came after Jeff Lurie and Eagles center, retired Eagles center, Jason Kelce, spoke very much in favor of keeping this play, and they spoke to the owners around the league. It's a huge victory for the Eagles, who obviously used that play to win a Super Bowl title this past season and have been using it almost to perfection over the last several years. Let's hit this from every angle. We've got Jonathan Jones, our lead NFL insider. We've got Leger Douzable, former defensive lineman, Kyle Long, former offensive lineman. JJ, I'm going to start with you because you go offshore earlier in the day. You could find a number to bet on this, and it was minus 500 that this would be banned. So what happened?
I mean, it was close. You know, folks probably should have been tuned into CBS Sports HQ, where we said it would be close. And it was, right? I mean, if two more votes would have gone for this rules proposal, we'd be talking, we'd have a much different segment right now. Ultimately, what happened was what happens in all of these owners' meetings. We can prognosticate, we can talk about the feelings going into a meeting, all of those things. But then these owners get there, and then they talk amongst themselves, right? They got to the Minneapolis area on Tuesday. They had their first day of meetings. They voted on the Olympics, and it wasn't really much of a debate at all. Then they got to chatting last night. And then Jeffrey Lurie goes up and he talks passionately but fairly, I was told by one source, not just about the tush push, but about a number of issues across the NFL, really kind of weaving some yarn that had a great thematic element to it that more or less said, hey, folks should speak up if they feel that ultimately things are a little unjust. And it wasn't just a tush push. And also Jason Kelce, he spoke. He was accompanied by video of the plays. I assume, having talked with folks there, that he was discussing how to execute the play, why there is perhaps a 0% injury rate on the play. Now, the Health and Safety Committee had said, yes, 0%, but what about the potential for a catastrophic injury? The Competition Committee was in favor of this ultimately being done away with. Not just this play, but the pushing and pulling of any ball carrier anywhere on the field. After those speeches, then they go into what's known as a privilege session. It's one per team is what you know it as. So one owner goes in there and they all cast their vote. That is the papal conclave of the NFL. And then we saw, of course, really, I guess you'd call it black smoke because the play was not banned. And so that is ultimately what just took place this morning in Minneapolis. That's why whatever we thought ahead of time, after these speeches, after the rallying and the campaigning, ultimately it fell 2 votes short of being banned, depending on your perspective. If the glass is half full, you got two votes that 2 more votes than you needed.
Well, let's get perspective from both sides of the line. Kyle Long used to run 3rd and 1, 4th and 1 plays on the offensive side. Leger Douzable tried to stop it. Kyle, I'll let you go first on this as a former All-Pro offensive lineman. How do you feel about the tush push not being banned?
Well, I think, you know, JJ made a beautiful point about the papal conclave, and there was black smoke. The play wasn't banned. Really, it was green smoke because the Philadelphia Eagles are the team that have mastered it. And that's really the only reason we're here having this conversation today. The Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles can do something offensively that other teams just cannot. And they do it so much more often. And I think while the competition committee, the rules people, they want to make an argument about the health, but really it's a competitive issue in their eyes because they just ain't doing it like the Philadelphia Eagles. And if everybody could do it, they would all be running the tush push like the Philadelphia Eagles. But the way that Howie Roseman has constructed his roster, the quarterback that they have, obviously Saquon Barkley making his way to Philadelphia, there's a dozen ways to get this tush push done. And yeah, it's not a sexy football play. And I'm sure there was a lot of people when we first did the forward pass that said, well, that's just unfair because Johnny's got a better arm than everybody. Well, why don't you figure out how to train arm strength, everybody else? And for the other 31 teams, you better find a way to capitalize on the tush push, because as an offensive lineman, I'm going to push you out of your way against your will. That's just the name of the game. This is football in its simplest form. It should remain in the game.
Yeah, Hass, I'm glad this wasn't banned. And Chris alluded to it. To me, this comes down to competition. I think JJ, put it perfectly when you talk about the potential of injury. My thing is, there's a potential for injury on every single football player. So are we going to change the sanctity of the game? Because every single play, you could get hurt. Right now, there's a 0% injury risk factor in this play that has been documented. There is no historical documentation showing that this play, there's a higher risk of getting injured or not getting injured. I love what DeMeco Ryan said when it came down to the tush push. It's hard to go against a team that does something better than everybody else just because they do it at a high level. Like, it's hard to really hold that against them. To me, it's a competition thing, and teams are just mad because they do it at an elite level or a higher level than most teams do it. My thing, again, if it was safety, if it came down to safety and health issues, then I understand wanting to ban it. But the potential of an injury, there's a potential of an injury on every single play. So I think the owners got this right by not banning this. The Philadelphia Eagles are very inventive in creating this play. Now it's up to defensive coordinators to be inventive in trying to slow it down.
And as JJ has pointed out many times, this wasn't just a ban on the tush push. If it would have gone through, it would have banned the pushing of a ball carrier down the field as well. So JJ, I guess what is the, you got double jeopardy in the courtrooms. What's next? I mean, now that the tush push is safe, is this going to be off the table to try to ban at all for the foreseeable future? And does that mean we're not going to change the pushing of, say, a tight end down the field as well?
That's a great question. And the answer is we'll just have to see. We'll have to see the 2025 season. Leger just talked about, again, the injury rate being 0%. There aren't that many plays, right? There's only, the Philadelphia Eagles run it the most. They don't run it that often, right? All 32 teams don't really even attempt it. A lot of teams that do attempt it aren't successful at it. And so in 2025, are we going to see more teams practice it in training camp, debut it in the regular season? Is it going to be successful? Will that injury rate remain 0%? I think all of us level-headed gentlemen right here would say if the injury rate ticks up above 0%, we could see this being prohibited from the game. We could see two other teams voting against it rather than for it, like we saw today. So we'll just have to see what winds up happening. I like your phrase and how you question that with double jeopardy. This can absolutely come back up next year. Okay. There is nothing holding it back from coming back next year. And we'll see if sort of ideas, emotions have changed at that point.
All right, so the tush push lives at least one more season in the NFL. Jonathan Jones with us, along with our linemen, Leger Douzable and Kyle Long. Kyle on a very brand new Pushing the Pile podcast today with Mike Renner with NFL season predictions, win totals, playoff teams, awards, and more as we inch closer to 100 days until the season kickoff.